Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pardon Our Picks, where perfection is a work in progress. I'm your host, Sam. Alongside me, as always, is the esteemed Orange Bomber, Tarik. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. We're getting towards the end. How about you, buddy?
Doing great, doing great. 2 weeks left in the season. I'm excited to see how it goes. Everything's getting very interesting. Speaking of interesting, football Jesus, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm feeling about as good as half of the teams from last week. I'm feeling a little kerfuffled is the word for it. But you know what? I'm here. I'm ready to talk some football and see what this week has in store for us.
All right. And we're going to toss it over to the QB coach. How you doing tonight, Jess?
Pretty good, considering I keep killing these picks. I don't think I can be caught.
I mean, you could stumble, but probably not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there's always that possibility. I just don't think it will happen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the rookie is taking a little bit of a, little break this week.
A sabbatical.
Yeah. Quick sabbatical. He'll be back next week, I'm
He
sure.
earned it.
But, of course, we are brought to you by Audubon Concepts Incorporated, more than just a sign shop, and Into Deep. Catch them New Year's Eve at the Waterfront Hotel at 9 p.m. They're going to be ringing in the new year. It's going to be fun. Go check it out. So, a lot of changes this week as far as QBs go. Tua's out for concussion that he reported earlier in the week. I feel bad for the guy, but who I don't really feel bad for, Derek Carr. He's also been benched this week for Jarrett Stidham, who? Jarrett Stidham. I know. Who knows? He can't stay in Las Vegas next. He can't be still in Las Vegas next year with the amount of dysfunction and the amount of they don't really want him there. What do you guys think? Does he go somewhere? Does he get traded?
I do not think Derek Carr is in a Las Vegas Raiders uniform next season. I think that team is going to do whatever they can to offload him, whether it be by cutting or trading, because that team has a lot more problems than who's playing quarterback. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they didn't pick up Josh Jacobs' fifth-year option on his rookie contract, and he's been playing lights out. But I don't see them signing him this offseason either. So we talked about this off camera. I am of the opinion that they're going to cut Derek Carr this season, and the team that is going to pick him up is going to be the New York Giants. I think that team has, they've stumbled down the stretch a little bit, and I think Derek Carr is more of a proven commodity than Daniel Jones is, because Daniel Jones, we really haven't kind of figured out what kind of quarterback he is. And we know that Derek Carr is a pocket passing quarterback. Going into that, if they have the cap space, I'm not sure, I didn't look that far ahead. But if they re-sign Saquon Barkley and get Derek Carr and then spend the extra draft picks that they have this year from the trade that they made with Chicago, that wound Justin Fields up in Chicago, I think the Giants could make a really big jump next year with Derek Carr at quarterback.
So I am going to agree with most of that. I do think they're going to try to cut him and free up a little bit of cap space. He does have that no trade clause, but I do not see him being a Raider next year. That being said, the teams that I could see him going to, I mean, there's always Indy with their constant quarterback shuffle. Assuming that that's going to solve all their problems, which it won't. I could also see the Jets entertaining it, because they seem to be kind of up in the air about, like they were all in on Zach Wilson and now they're not again. So I don't know, maybe even Houston.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I'm not really sure. There's so many teams that are up in the air. Like, defaulted my mind went to Denver, but Denver can't afford it because they were stuck paying Russell Wilson for 4 years. You got some of the other ones. Carolina might be able to. Atlanta could use them. But again, cap space, who can do what? And you got a couple different options with waivers and trades and draft picks. Who can afford him? He's going to have to take I think, a pay cut because no one's going to pay him that price when, I mean, he's not performing. That's why he got benched in the first place. So who's going to want that? It's only going to be one of these desperate teams, I think, that are going to pick him up. Take your pick.
Given the state of things, quite a few teams need quarterbacks next year. I think they're going to try and trade him. I think they're going to get his permission to trade him, and nobody's going to bite. They're going to end up releasing him just before free agency and before the draft. I believe that Houston has a lot of cap space. They could absolutely take on that contract. I don't think they will. They will have the number 1 pick as well. So think of it this way. Let's say they get Derek Carr. Can be a good quarterback in the right system. Right now you got Lovie Smith down there. Not a bad coach. You get the number 1 pick. You have a second first-round pick from the Browns. So wherever they end up, you're going to have that pick as well, probably in the top 10. So they're going to be able to load up for a quarterback. It's going to be an attractive spot for somebody. Problem is, I don't think Houston, to be honest, I don't think Houston's going to want to. They don't really pony up money. They just don't. With the owner there and the fact that they're pretty hamstrung from the last big coach they had, it's rough. I could see him going there. I could see him going to Seattle. I could absolutely see the Jets. And I think that might be the dark horse option. But if I had to put my money on it, I would say that he's going to Houston. But so many teams, so many options. Let's see how it goes. But I'm interested to see it.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure what everybody is interested in seeing is the records for the current season. Let's take a look. Tarik pulling out the 12-4 week.
Yes.
Inching ever closer to me.
Pushing Brady back down where he
keeping
belongs.
that distance between him and Brady.
I don't know what I was thinking picking the Broncos over the Rams, but that was an absolute shellacking on Nickelodeon. I mean, that's where that game belonged, but it didn't look like it from the Rams' perspective.
I picked that too, thinking Denver was coming off of a good week. The Rams have looked horrendous. They had a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Denver dug a hole and went under the line that everyone, the bottom of the barrel that everyone expected them to be in. And then they got in a fight at the end of it. Then they got in a fight at the end of the game.
Yes, they did.
And then Tua, played electric the first half and then bumped his head for the 18th time this year and then couldn't throw the ball straight. So
they're going to need to sit him for the rest of the season, I think.
He might need to consider not playing anymore. I know nobody wants to hear that. Yeah. And I know, as a competitor, he's not going to want to do that. But this is his life. Obviously, he's got permanent damage from that first one, right?
Look at Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Luck, he was a Super Bowl contender. You knew he could have made it.
Yep.
But he lacerated lungs. He got hurt so bad he couldn't. He's like, you know what? I don't want to die. I want to live.
And this is to his third concussion this season.
This season.
Yeah.
And I've had 2 in my life, and I'm good. I don't want another one, so I don't need.
These aren't severe hits that he's taking now. These aren't his head is bouncing off the ground, but not nowhere near the first one. So you can tell that he's just aggravating something that was caused initially.
Absolutely. I don't think he's given enough time in between just to allow himself to just even try to heal.
It's like the Carson Wentz thing. When he tore his ACL in the year that Philly won the Super Bowl, he tried to force his way back and wound up coming back way too soon and just kept getting injured and kept getting injured and kept getting injured. I think we're seeing the same thing with Tua here.
Well, and of course, the rookie, he's keeping pace. 9-7, not a bad week. Still over.
He's only one behind Brady.
He was only one behind Brady this week. I'm telling you, that boy's got something special going on. Of course, he was also one behind me. So
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Let's not mention that. Let's mention only one behind Brady.
next year he'll be making picks for the entire season. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, I will say, Brady, I was so worried about this weekend. I'm like, oh no, am I gonna be in last place?
There's a reason why I didn't send out our normal like 4:00 text, because I had like 6 wins and I was like, this is just going poorly for me. I don't want to find out how bad this is. So
Yeah.
I was wondering where that was.
Yeah,
I
I
figured
was
it's just 'cause
wondering
it was
too.
Christmas.
no, I was embarrassed.
Well, let's get on to it, shall we? The first game of the week. Let's go. Football Jesus, give us that gospel.
Well, speaking of embarrassing, one of the teams that I picked for my game of the week absolutely embarrassed their opponents last week, I think to the surprise of everyone here. So my game of the week is the Carolina Panthers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I'm not sure if anyone changed their pick, but I'm pretty sure on video we all picked Detroit to beat Carolina last week. And Carolina came out and absolutely wiped the floor with Detroit, to the point where Detroit's head coach said that was a butt kicking that you just gave us. Great job. And congratulating head coach Steve Wilkes of the Carolina Panthers. Now, Tampa Bay, they had a hard time last week. I mean, we're seeing this week in and week out with Tampa Bay's offense, to where they are struggling for 3/4 of the game. And then when you get into that final 2 minutes, Tom Brady remembers the quarterback he used to be and is able to drive down the field and put points on the board when he needs to. And with this game being potentially for the division, I see this being one of the more exciting games of the week. I'm going with Carolina on this one, based on the fact that they have somehow figured out how to play a better offense without arguably the best running back in the game, and Christian McCaffrey on the field. And with Tampa Bay's inability to consistently score points, I just have no faith that Tampa Bay is going to make the playoffs this year. But I do believe the winner of this game is going to be the winner of that division and get the 4 seed for the NFC.
So I actually agree, and I am picking Carolina as well. I know Tom Brady does his thing, when it counts, supposedly, but not so much this year. And Carolina's getting really scrappy in this division. They want it, and this week we saw it against Detroit. Hubbard and Foreman really got going. Darnold was super efficient. He targeted DJ Moore a lot more than, no pun intended, than normal. And I mean, they looked great against Detroit, which obviously doesn't have a great defense, but offensively they still looked great. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Tampa Bay's defense go up against Carolina, and I'm definitely taking Carolina here.
Nothing would make me happier than Tom Brady losing, missing the playoffs. I would just warm my heart like the Grinch, just grow 3 sizes bigger. But he's still Tom Brady, and he's stabbed my heart, and just so many times over the last million years he's been playing football. So I think he's going to win, as Brady puts it. Tom Brady's going to Tom Brady. I think he's going to be able to come out with this. Carolina did impress and shock last week, but I think Tom Brady's just going to be able to pull this, especially with the playoff thing on the line. I think he's just going to eke that.
I gotta wonder how much of Tom Brady's struggles are Tom Brady, and how much of it is the fact that Bruce Arians is no longer the coach of that team. A coach that's known for his offense, for putting up numbers and for getting everybody in the spots that they need them. I think that might be part of the problem. And Tom Brady he needs a decent coach right now. He needs a good coach to get the rest of the team on board. Now, Carolina, yeah, they won last week big, which was shocking to all of us, but Detroit in the past has been notorious for having issues playing outdoors this year. Every one of their outdoor games, Jared Goff has struggled. So might have been part of the problem. Given that this is a very important game for this division, and Tom Brady's just not, there's just something missing there. I gotta give it to the Panthers.
Could be Mike Evans dropping the ball every time he's targeted, but
It
That
could
too.
be, but I mean, it could, like I said, that could be part of a issue with coaching. You know, nobody. I mean, maybe they're not being held accountable. Maybe they needed an AB over there to distract everybody from everything else. He ain't there no more.
yeah.
But I got Carolina in this one. I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be 20s, in the 20s. So, all right. That being said, let's toss it over to the QB coach, Jessica. What's your game of the week?
So my game of the week is Miami at New England. This is always an awesome matchup. It's always fun to watch, even in the Tom Brady New England era. Miami always played New England really well. They were one of the teams that played them really well out of few. But New England's defense is something to be reckoned with. I mean, they're second or third in takeaways and second or third in sacks this season. So I think that's going to be a major problem especially now that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be starting for Miami. I already thought that they would struggle because it's in New England. I think New England actually has a shot at the playoffs still.
Yeah.
So I think the game plan is going to be solid for Bill Belichick. I'm taking New England in this game. If you couldn't tell, I think it will be by 10 points or more.
All right,
Great
so
rule.
this is an interesting one. This was my backup game to whatever one I picked later. I like the divisional games, especially this late in the season where everyone's trying to get. It's like, okay, if this win and this loss and this tie and this person and the Jupiter is in line with the moon of Saturn and all this other stuff. Miami has surprised and impressed me this year. New England, not so much. The records are shockingly close. I thought Miami was a little higher up there. I had picked Miami with this one. With all they had done, I did not know Tua was out. I think this is going to be I'm picking Miami now, and I'm going to reevaluate how things go before the game. They play Sunday. All the schedules are weird now.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Sunday
playing
at 1.
Sunday,
Okay.
and Tua is definitely out this week.
Yeah, he's definitely out.
Also
So,
to note that the Waddle and Hill are going for a record. I think it's like to be like the fourth duo to ever hit like 3,000 yards or something in a season. I don't know what it's something like that, but I'm sure.
and Teddy Bridgewater, he's not the worst. I mean, he's an okay. He's a good backup. Denver had him last year. He didn't do terrible. But against New England and Bill Belichick, I don't like the man, but I respect what he's done. So we'll see. But for now, I'm going with Miami. Sam may get a text later.
Yeah, I actually text Sam because when I sent him my picks, I originally had picked Miami before Tua had been ruled out. But given the fact that Tua is out, this game is being played in New England in December, almost January, when it's going to be freezing cold. And it's like New England doesn't like going south. Miami doesn't like going north. And really the fact that, as Jess alluded to, the Patriots defense has been fantastic this year. Those 8 losses, you could pretty much hinge almost all of them on the offense. So I'm going with New England in this one, and I would not be surprised if next week we're talking about where Mac Jones is going to be next year, because I do not see him being a New England Patriot next year.
I think all of us had Miami pegged for this one before Tua went down. Jessica, would you have picked Miami?
No, it was more of a toss up for me before Tua went, but I'm not sure who I would have ultimately picked. Miami was, but it was close.
Yeah, I had to change it. I had Miami picked before I had found out about Tua, but I changed my pick as soon as I found out. Did the same thing with the Raiders game. As soon as I found out Derek Carr was out, I kept my pick the way it was. But Miami, they started hot. They've been streaky this year. They started pretty hot. They were the number one seed 4 or 5 weeks ago. If the season would have ended then, they would have been the number one seed. They've lost 5 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. New England, they've been middling all year. Basically, good defense and bad offense has made them a middling team. I think this comes down to defense on Sunday. I think New England's defense is the better of the two. It's going to be low scoring. Teddy Bridgewater could get him some points. I just don't see him getting enough. New England for the victory. All right. We're on to the Orange Bombers pick.
All right. So I got another divisional game here. I got the Packers and the Vikings. So this is interesting to me, one-sided. So I'll start off by saying I have the Vikings taking this. But Green Bay has been hitting a hot streak later in the season where we all kind of wrote them off earlier in the season. And if you're going to start hitting it hot, later in the year is when you really want to do it so that you can continue that streak and ride that into the playoffs.
Right.
I think now the win over Minnesota isn't really going to help them.
Yeah, well.
Well, it will help them to a point, but I mean, Minnesota's already got it. They got to jump. They're on the bubble, and they got to jump into the playoffs. So it'll help them with a win, but they got to hope that Detroit and Chicago lose too. So what? This is. Oh, you're just making faces. Don't distract me. So I think it's really interesting just from the one side of the ball just to see what Green Bay can do. Can they do it? Can they win? How bad do they want it? Can the hot streak, what they've been finally getting the turf under their feet, can it actually work? So I'm going with Minnesota. I think they're going to win. Get out ahead, stay ahead for most of it, not by much, but stay ahead. But I think it's going to be interesting.
I agree with Tarik. The only thing that I disagree with is that I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to stay ahead because every game that they've been in this year, they've had to scratch and claw to stay ahead. And really, I'm still out on Green Bay this year. The only reason they won last week was because Tua attempted to play through his 18th concussion and threw 3 picks in the second half or something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So I'm still out on Green Bay. But because Minnesota's track record is to play down to their competition, there is a chance that Green Bay could win this game, but I do see Minnesota winning this one just because I don't see them being as prone to making as many mistakes as Miami did last week.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm going with Minnesota here. I don't think Green Bay's defense is going to have a real answer for Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins and him have, the same thing that, Lamar and Andrews had. That's his favored dude, and for good reason. He makes magic happen. I think Minnesota normally is one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. Obviously, their defense isn't quite there. But I think not Denver. I think Green Bay will hold them to a lower scoring game, but ultimately they will take it because Green Bay is not going to be able to score it. I mean, they struggled against Miami offensively, and Miami's not noted as like top 2 or 3, defenses. So I'm going to go Minnesota here. I know it's in Lambeau, but Minnesota plays hard against Green Bay always, and they've been looking really, really good. So
Minnesota is still vying for that number 1 seed. They can get it, assuming that they get the win and the Eagles lose both of their next 2 games. Green Bay Packers half a game out of a playoff spot right now. Only the Washington Commanders are ahead of them. Detroit as well, but simply because they've only played once. It's really close coming down to the wire for these teams. Green Bay has fought and clawed their way back into playoff contention. The Vikings are absolutely prone to mistakes, as that victory against the Colts will attest to. They were down 33-0, and most of that was points against them from the defense. Green Bay's defense is decent. They can hold a team down for the most part, and the Vikings like to play to their competition. I see this one. The Vikings have problems playing in Green Bay. Let's face it, they struggle there. I think they exercise those demons this week. I think they win this week. It's going to be in the 20s again, but it'll be a very, very interesting game. I think the QB coach wants to say something.
I actually thought their record in Lambeau wasn't bad. I think their record in January in Lambeau is bad. But I think
who likes playing in sub-zero temperatures
yeah.
when
December and January, yes.
Yeah, but I think otherwise, I think their overall record in Lambeau is like 50%.
I would say that may be overall the
Yeah.
case, but I want to say the last 20 some years, Green Bay has absolutely owned them.
I was going off of the last like couple, not like
doing
historical.
some live research here, folks.
Anyway, so yeah, I got the Vikings, but it's going to be close, and I can absolutely see Green Bay winning this.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
their all-time record, before we go off of this, the Vikings' all-time record in Lambeau is 55-63-3, including 1-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah, but what about the last like 10 years? That's what we were kind
of last 10.
5 years. I don't know, maybe not 10 because Green Bay used to be really good. And
Green Bay was very good.
9-9-2.
Really?
Between December 28th of 2012 and December 28th of 2022, they are 9-9-2 in Lambeau.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. Minnesota is an indoor team, which is
so what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. Like
absolutely
it's a 50-50
nothing.
shot.
well, I mean, I think a lot of teams have difficulty playing in Lambeau.
Yeah. And
like certain teams have difficulty playing in certain stadiums, so it factors into whether or not you think they're going to win. And
Dallas always has an issue with Green Bay.
Dallas has a lot of issues, a lot of places.
It's true. Let's move on to the next game of the week. My game of the week. Let's take a look. Sunday Night Football. The Steelers against the Ravens.
oh no!
Listen, this game is going to be. If either team is going to be hard won. The Steelers are still in the playoff hunt, desperately trying not to finish under 500. And if they win this week, they've got a pretty good shot. They've got the Browns next week, if I'm not mistaken. The Ravens already have a playoff spot, but they still can win that division. I think the Ravens need Lamar in this one. I really do. I don't think that
Have him.
Hmm?
They won't have him.
And I'm going to change my pick if he doesn't play this week.
They said he is not likely.
So right now my pick is the Ravens at home against the Steelers. I don't think Tyler Huntley can pull a rabbit out of his hat twice. I got the Ravens right now. I'm going to pick the Steelers on Sunday if Baltimore doesn't have, if Lamar decides not to play. It's one of those games. As much as the Ravens would love to give the Steelers their first losing record in the last 20 years, I don't see it happening if Lamar's not there because they just can't generate an offense. So
yeah, so I pretty much completely agree with Sam. I was talking with my dad and brother about this after the Ravens game on Saturday. They're eking by without Lamar. I think they're trying to hold him off until the playoffs. But I mean, they've been managing to just, as I said, just eke it by. Steelers have had a hard time this year. They've gone through a couple different quarterbacks. They've had trouble getting the tread under their feet with this one. So Steelers is a hard fought team. They're gonna make it ugly. And they can taste that playoff berth, and so they're gonna try and get it. And even if they lose, they're gonna make it very hard for the Ravens, who have struggled to have easy wins this year. So I think this is another one of those. I'm picking the Ravens now. We'll see as the rest of the week goes on whether or not I'm texting Sam.
So I am going out on a limb and I am picking the Ravens, even though, yes, it will be Tyler Huntley. The biggest thing for me is that the Steelers have one of the worst passing offenses, thanks to their very inconsistent quarterback, who will be playing. And luckily for us, because the Ravens have one of the worst secondaries. However, I think that the Steelers are going to be trying to use the ground attack a lot more because of that. And the Ravens' rushing defense is fantastic. So that's where I think the Ravens have the edge. The one problem that I do see, though, is that the Steelers are extremely healthy. I think they have most of, if not all of their key players in this game, whereas the Ravens are very banged up. Obviously quarterback is out. We've got Marcus Peters was out. I'm assuming he's still out. Couple other players are out for the Ravens. So I do think it's going to be a struggle, low scoring game, maybe 10-9 or something. The last few seconds field goal by Tucker. But I am taking the Ravens.
I'm with Jess on this one. I'm taking the Ravens no matter who's playing quarterback. And I don't think it really is going to matter who is under center as long as Greg Roman doesn't pull a Browns game where we decide to completely abandon the run game that is working so well. The Steelers have the 29th ranked run defense, and the run attack of the Ravens has been very good, even with a J.K. Dobbins at 75-80% and Gus Edwards and to spell Justice Hill every now and again. It's just the lighting. I thought I had like something in my beard this whole time. I don't think it really matters who's under center because the Steelers game is the game where Lamar got hurt and Tyler Huntley came in and did enough for the Ravens to win that game, but it really wasn't what he did. It was what the defense was able to do to the Steelers offense. Now, granted, it's a rivalry game. Anything goes, especially when Mike Tomlin is head coach of the other team, but I just don't see the Steelers having enough on offense or defense to be able to stop the Ravens run game or keep up in points. I think it's going to be close. I think, 16-10, something like that. But when the Steelers struggled against the Raiders defense, who is historically bad this year, I see them struggling even more mightily against the Ravens defense this year or this week.
All right. Let's go on to the pop panel pick'ems. Let's take a look. Almost a clean sweep on the Cowboys game, except Sammy, for some reason, has a vendetta against the Cowboys.
Just to stick it to his dad.
I don't understand why.
And folks, I feel the need to mention it because I've mentioned it multiple times this season. Last week, a miracle happened. Russell Wilson tied with his touchdowns the amount of bathrooms he has in his house.
Yes.
It happened. What we thought the impossible happened this season, so we all can breathe a little better, sleep a little better at night because
no more.
He's
not getting any more.
I would not.
He's not getting any against the Chiefs.
I mean, he got a bunch against the Chiefs not that long ago. So, and of course, only two of us picked the Falcons, me and Tarik.
High five.
I'm back and forth on that one, but I mean, I like Colt McCoy as a backup, and the team likes him. And there was another reason that I can't remember right now. Oh, JJ Watt's retiring. This is gonna be
Yeah.
like a super
This is
amped up
last-
game.
But
Yeah, they're gonna win.
That's why I picked them, was because JJ Watt's going to play out of his mind. So he guarantees that first stamp ballot.
And the
Hall
whole
of Fame.
team's gonna be pumped up.
well, I heard he's retiring because of Kyler Murray's halftime speech.
What?
You didn't see that?
No.
It's one of those memes they have on Facebook, similar to the one that Tarik sent to us.
I just like Jess's reaction. Did he really say that?
I was hoping.
But yeah, I mean, he wasn't wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
Currently, Tarik is the only one to pick Miami. That could absolutely change. He's also the only one to pick Tampa Bay.
Just one more time for Tom Brady to stab you in the heart and twist it.
One
Just
more
to-
time.
Could be Brady's opportunity to catch up.
I still think it's funny. I was looking at the records. It's less than 10 games between like Jess and Brady right now.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It
we're
is.
all like we're all making fun of like me and Brady being down at the bottom of the pack, but it's really not that many games between.
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
top
Jess
and
could
bottom.
completely slip up and be in last place, and then Tarik and I can just put this whole rivalry to bed.
I would have to
Yes.
choose wild picks for that to happen.
Listen, I don't think I'm catching Jessica. What I want to do is keep my losses under 100.
Hmm.
So it's getting close.
I'm honestly
Of course.
surprised only 2 of us picked the Jets.
I am going back and forth. I
Me
very
too.
well might, because I know like I want to say Zonovan Knight went off last time Mike White was in, and I know he's starting, and
Yep.
so I might flip that. I have to do a little bit more research, watch some of the games, watch Seattle.
Sammy picked the Houston Texans to get a victory.
I also find it funny. He picked his
They-
mom's team, but not yours.
Yeah, he does that.
The Texans have looked pretty game the last 2 weeks.
They have.
I mean,
Hence
what
why
they
I picked them
won,
last
they
week.
won last week,
Yeah.
and they almost beat the Chiefs, much
the-
to my chagrin.
And the Cowboys and the Jaguars are going to Jaguar on occasion.
On occasion, yes, they will Jaguar.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think there's really anything to talk about the 49ers game. So on to the next slide.
Yes. It's really not. I mean, the 49ers should roll with
How
that.
bad is that game going to be?
It's going to be a slaughter.
That's why none of us picked it.
Hmm.
Sammy's the only one that picked Green Bay. I could absolutely see that happening. Everybody else picked the same damn shit.
Family show, Sam. Family show.
Ooh, that Buffalo game, though.
I need the soundboard where I can like beep Sam.
Yeah, that Buffalo game. That's an interesting one.
Mhm.
The
See what the
Buffalo
weather's
game-
like. I may wind up changing my pick.
It's funny because all 4 of these games could go the other way.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Every single one of them.
Well, maybe not the
Um,
Rams game.
They could. They put up 51 points last week.
Yeah, it could, but I mean, the Chargers are good now, right this second.
Their
Like,
defense isn't that great though.
not a few weeks ago. On
Maybe-
paper, though, I mean,
maybe Baker Mayfield's in a good spot.
I think he is in a good spot, but
I've been saying that for weeks, that I think he is going to sign and he is going to stay in LA, because I don't think Matt Stafford has another 3 years in him.
I agree.
I think Stafford's done.
Yeah.
But,
Should have pulled a
that's-
Peyton Manning and left last year. All right. I think we've reached that time. Thank you guys so much. I'm waiting for the slide.
Yep. Just waiting.
Sam's
Sam.
making-
Sam's just
Sam's
trolling
making me
you at
wait
this
on
point.
purpose.
Had to
All
be done.
right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with us all season. Let us know in the comments who you think is right, is wrong. Can Jess make all her wild picks and let me and Brady win?
Mm,
Probably not.
No.
Click
Well,
the
I
like
dropped the last.
button.
I
the
am
like
too
button.
competitive, so
Click subscribe. Click that bell so you know when we upload these videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, I am Tarik.
I'm Jess.
Football Jesus.
And I'm Sam. And you have a great football week.
Bye, guys.